Well, let us begin with the awesomeness that is Nippon Sangoku.
We start with Nippon Sangoku, episode 6, with Wajima getting a report that the Ryumon Corps has entered Fukui Reihoku Castle, and the unit led by Taira Tonotsuga has already entered Kaga. Wajima sweet pleases the scout and tells him to go get some rest, and then he jerks off. Then Wajima says, "Dad, it's time," and then she puts her hair up. Cuts to Kaga, Kanazawa Castle, 1 hour later, and Nago has received 210 plus lashes, and the messenger from Yamato is like, holy shit, they're going pretty hard. But then Nago faints, and they're like, oh shit, what did Wajima say? And she said if he faints, then they should reschedule. But it cuts to the messenger with Nago, and Nago is like, you still believe this is some self-injury stratagem? And he's like, nah, man, 200 lashes is crazy. And Nago is like, yeah, like on a good day, I can bench 400 easy. And Sei's new regime is crazy. And even if they want to resist, they don't have enough soldiers or food. And he's like, Yamato messenger man, you gotta take over Kaga fast. And he's like, you got it, boss. And then leaves. And then after he leaves, Nago is like, got him.
I love that this dude, he's just such a gentle soul. He's like, dude, that's crazy that they hurt you like that. I can't wait to help you. I'll be right back. I swear. Like, holy shit. They were like, okay, for a messenger, we need the most gullible human being on earth. We need someone that believes everything and all things at the same time. He's like, wow, this guy could never betray me. He's my best friend. They're going to cook us dinner. We've been best friends for 20 years.
He is a gentle soul.
You're insinuating something, Greg, and I haven't watched the next episode, even though I really wanted to, and now I'm sad.
That's to 2 hours later at the Teidori River, and the Yamato scouts say that Kanazawa has only 2,000 soldiers and no signs of an ambush. Tonotsugu is like, sick, and the forces they passed in Daishoji, Komatsu, and here in Nomi were pretty light, and he doubts they would set up an ambush in Hakusan, which proves Nago's surrender is legit. Sugo just sits on his horse smoking a cig and doesn't even respond to Tonotsugu. And Tonotsugu thinks, is this dude ignoring me? But then he continues and thinks that Sugo is known for being hard and never smiling. And the only words he's heard him say the past few days were, understood, okay, and 1 sugar cube, please. But Tonotsugu continues his internal monologue, and he's like, man, well, whatever. Once I pull this off and the Emperor grants him the post of Borderland General, I'll fire this dude. But the messenger from before rolls up, Tamaki, and he's like, dude, it's brutal out there in the streets. And Tonotsugu is like, sick, we better hurry. But Sugo is like, wait, once we pass the river, there will be no escape. And even if there are no soldiers in Kanazawa, there could be soldiers in neighboring areas, and we can get caught in a pincer attack, and that'll be the end. And even a child could figure that out. Sugo said they'll make camp where they are now and rendezvous with Nagamine and the other 1,000 soldiers and the rear force led by Ryumon with another 3,000. And in the meantime, we'll send out scouts to the other areas. Tonotsugu is like, oh, you feel like talking now, bitch? Well, how many days until the rear forces arrive? And how long will it take to survey the other areas? And if Nago escapes or is executed before then, what excuse are you going to give to the Emperor? You going to embarrass yourself like Ryumon? Then Tonotsugu has Sugo arrested, and he's like, you ever talk to me again? I'll tell my daddy, and he'll kill your entire clan. All right, let's head out.
He does say daddy, which is weird, because then Greg has to say it now, and now it sounds way worse, because it's not a 7-year-old child saying it.
Daddy, chill.
The fuck even is that? See,
Daddy, chill.
This is why you need me here. I'm the internet. Incarnate.
100%. Cuts to Nago, and he gets a report. The Yamato unit is on the way, and he's like, holy shit, it worked. And good thing Tonotsugu is a fucking idiot. And then Nago is like, Wajima is going to fucking love me for this. Time to jerk off.
With both hands that way, he's like, I'm gonna do it like this.
Yeah, I mean, his is probably gigantic, so he's actually like this. Doing it like that, probably.
No, he's punching the sides. If someone came into this channel and and was like, just kind of seeing what the Anime Book Club top 100 best anime podcasts of all time was, wondering what we're about. Welcome. It's all dick jokes. 100% of the time.
Yeah, Nago just turns into Silicon Valley and he's like, well, if I could do 4 guys at once.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then with
exactly.
disparating heights, we have to like line them up tallest to shortest. So then now we just change the angle and now we can do it like this and we can do 4 dudes.
Yes. And it wouldn't work out your arms too much.
Cuts to Komatsu Airport at 11:20 p.m. and some dude reports to Ryumon that they're going to have a banquet at Kanazawa Castle. And Ryumon is like, what? Taira is there already? And he's like, yeah. And they crossed the river already. And he's like, did anyone try to stop Tonotsugu from crossing the river? And the guy hesitantly says that Sugo tried to stop him. Ryumon is like, cool. Okay. Well, we're hella not going to Kanazawa because if it's a trap, then we're toast. Go tell that to Tonotsugu. And Ryumon walks off. Ryumon and Kaku sit down and light up and talk about the situation. And Kaku says a banquet is perfect for an ambush or poisoning, especially if it's on your own turf. And Ryumon is like, so you think Sugo and the others are in danger? Kaku is like, we should fall back to Fukui. And Ryumon is like, if we do that, we won't have any chance at helping at Kanazawa. And Kaku is like, exactly why we should do it. Because it's unexpected. But it cuts to Kanazawa Castle at the banquet, and they have a geisha idol group perform for all the Yamato dudes, and they're all loving the show.
I didn't take a picture of these children, so...
It's okay.
But I was like, I don't know how old these kids are. They look like 17. I'm gonna not have a screenshot of the weirdest part of this episode. Like, I get it because, like, okay, after a nuclear war, like, the destitute state of humanity, it's so messy, but they're trying to keep, like, some semblance of what Japan used to be. They're like, oh, we'll have, like, a mismatch of what ancient Japan with the geishas and current Japan with idol groups. And it's, like, kind of funny, but I was just like, oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't like that. I get it. They're trying to, like, lull these dudes into a false sense of security and make them feel like, oh, welcome. Like, oh, dude, over here, we fucking party, dude. Just, like, help us out. We'll be all partying together.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it in the first episode of this anime where it's kind of reverted back. Aoteru and Saki were getting married at 15, 16 years old. We have like literally kids just chain smoking all day. And I don't think the life expectancy is what it used to be.
No, it's probably like maybe 45 to 50. And that's why Ryumon's so fucking dope because he's probably like mid 50s, 60 years old.
Yeah, he's the oldest guy alive probably in the world
Probably,
right now.
Yeah.
But then we can also see like wartime stuff as well, where that kind of entertainment I feel like was kind of prevalent in the wartime, war-torn areas anyway.
Yeah, they're not doom scrolling TikTok. They're getting a show at dinner, and that's like what you talk about for the next 6 months.
You have like a hand-drawn picture of Wajima, and it's all of a sudden your material to entertain yourself with because you don't have the internet or anything else to work off of, I guess.
Are you saying you can't pull up her OnlyFans?
You can, but it's in the form of a piece of paper. OnlyFans analog. Yeah, you just have to go find a flyer or the Sears catalog.
You go find a flyer and you're like, oh, this is sick. I'm going to draw 2 circles and then 2 circles inside that. Nice.
Yeah, like the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And I just referenced the Sears catalog. No one's even going to know what that means unless you're like 100 years old.
We are so old.
Sears no longer exists.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right.
Did you guys see the lingerie section in the Sears catalog this weekend, dude? That shit was crazy, bro.
It's funny because it's true.
We live in a world of instant gratification. And just to show you guys how ancient we are, like before cell phones existed, before even phones could go on the internet, like this is what you had to do. The joke that is like Playboy and Hustler magazine, the forbidden fucking library.
I would have to use my beeper to beep DJ Montague. Then he'd have to go to a payphone to call me. And then we would talk about the latest articles in the Sears catalog.
He would beep me the numbers 143. And then I would be like, oh shit, on my beeps. It's Greg. He said 143. I better call him right now.
This person that you need to ask about 143, they're probably like 900 years old. So
yeah. Ask your mom.
Nago talks to Tonotsugu and he's like, you guys are the best. Haga belongs to Yamato. And Tonotsugu is like, sick. People thought you were lying. Right, Sugo? As Sugo is sitting at the dinner table, still all tied up. Nagao is like, why is that dude tied up? And Tonotsugu is like, oh, that's just his hobby. He's a fucking weird old dude. Everyone starts eating, and Tonotsugu is like, hey, Sugo, I said we would feed you, but you aren't eating. And Nagao is like, we can prepare something else if you want. And Sugo says, 1 sugar cube. And if I'm going to die, I might as well eat something I'd like. Nagao has an internal monologue and is like, yep, he doesn't trust me at all. But if Tonotsugu tied him up, then that means he doesn't trust his own soldiers, and that alone speaks volumes. Cuts to Osaka at the Yoshitsune residence, the same time the banquet is going on, and Tsune and Aoteru are discussing the situation. And Aoteru says if a fight broke out in Kanazawa, the land would be ruined and increase poverty, and no way to reward the Sei soldiers after the battle. With Sei still unstable, they wouldn't want to fight on their own soil. And while the Yamato force is preoccupied in Kanazawa, Sei would invade Yamato instead. If they did, they would attack from Fukui. And Tsune is like, the roads aren't maintained. They wouldn't make it, let alone have enough soldiers. But Aoteru is like, that would have been true a month ago. But this intelligence report says otherwise. And their farmer-soldier policy outlines they would also clean and maintain roads. And what if this was a preparation for war? Cuts to the Tani Tunnel, year 60 of the Yamato era, spring, and Wajima and her army march west, and it shows the Sei soldiers knocking down walls to progress through to attack locations along the same line that Aoteru predicted. It cuts to Kuzuru Castle, a Yamato location, and its 2,000 soldiers are against 70,000 Sei soldiers. And the Yamato dudes are like, can we request reinforcements? And they're like, if we do, the only general left to lead them would be Denki. And if he defeats Sei, then Ryumon will be stripped of his position and it will be given to the Taira clan. And we can't let that happen. They received a report that Ryumon turned around and is heading their way and can be here as early as tonight. So we gotta Hodor until then. But then they received a report that Sei broke through the perimeter and are heading for the main keep. Kuda rolls up, and if we remember, he was the other anti-surrender general guy that chopped the governor's head off or something a couple episodes ago. And he's like, hey, you Yamato losers, we're taking this castle. And Wajima is already moving to take over other ones. So if you give me the head of the commander, I'll let you all live. But if not, I'll kill you all, and I'll also, bite your fingers off and toes, and I'm a really weird guy.
He said he would remove their fingers and toes and then shove them down their throats so that they choke on them.
Yeah, but remove, he meant he would bite them off with his own mouth and then put them back in their mouths.
Yeah, he's a weird guy.
Really weird. But I guess it's kind of like scare tactic stuff. It's the same as the Mongolians, I guess, who would just dome a bunch of the enemies and then trebuchet their heads over the walls to freak everybody out.
Yeah, he would also put their bodies in the water supply so that it would poison their water supply.
Yeah, war's messed up.
War's fucked up, man.
Here in the anime, I kind of condensed what happened, and there was other character names that I didn't necessarily write down because I find in this anime they do introduce a lot of characters, but they don't last very long. So unless I feel like they're going to last a little bit longer, or we've seen them a handful of times, I don't write it down. But then they have the name of the commander. They have a name of this lady that's on the screen, which I think I wrote down. A lot of cool stuff happened.
This scene is so sick.
Yeah, we'll let the screenshots speak to the coolness of the scene. I'm just gonna finish up the scene real quick. So the commander dude tells Hiraizumi, which was a girl in the previous screenshot, to give them his head and take the civilians and soldiers and rendezvous with Ryumon. He said we'll have to hand over this castle's food stores, but with that new auditor dude, meaning Aoteru, everyone is talking about, Fukui has plenty stockpiled. Then he hands Hiraizumi his sword and is like, trust in me. Now hurry up and do it. Hiraizumi is like, nah, man, we defend this shit together, even though we have no chance of winning. And some cool interaction between Kuda and the commander guy happen because he's like, you called us losers, but you were a loser once, and this is how you not be a loser by not running and stuff. And he's like, I respect you, high five, let's fight. And then basically the two armies fight, and then you have that scene where, you know, they're playing the, what are those called? Shamisen, I think they're called.
Yeah, Greg, you got it.
You got people dancing around, like doing backflips as like the battle's going on and stuff. And then at the end, it's assumed that that castle fell, and pretty much everyone in that scene, including the commander and the chick and the people playing the instruments, are all dead.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends.
They went out in an awesome blaze of glory.
Yeah.
They were like, yo, we're not staying on these walls with our guns and your stupid bows because you guys suck at shooting bows and we could just pop your heads from here. We're gonna come out on the battlefield and fuck you, guy. And he was like, hey, I respect that shit. Let's fight.
When I watched this scene, I kind of had that feeling of dread in terms of, you know, they're not going to make it out of this. Obviously, everyone here is going to die. It's basically just like a suicide mission, more not necessarily for Yamato, but more for Ryumon, because they understand they could potentially call for reinforcements. Maybe they'll live. But if they do that, then basically like Denki is going to take over the world. And apparently like dying is better than living under Denki, which also means dying.
I get it. We're in a situation where Yamato is being cannibalized from the inside. Denki is, his whole plan is to rule over basically all of what Japan is now. He understands that the people in Yamato are probably strong enough and will give him enough resources and are intelligent enough for him to continue to succeed on their backs and then just destroy whatever's in front of them. And so Yamato is trying their best to like circumvent his ascension to power and still do right by the citizenry and the military. And it's like this incredible tightrope that's just not gonna go well.
Yeah, and like, you know, it reminded me of the Saving Private Ryan, like at the end of that movie where they had to like hold that little bridge or whatever, and they just had whatever, like 10 dudes versus like a tank battalion of Germans or whatever, and they're putting the sticky bomb socks on the tank treads and like blowing up and shit, where you have that feeling like, okay, you know, they're all gonna die holding this bridge. But unfortunately for Yamato here, there were no tank busters flying overhead blowing people up. They just they're all dead. I just thought that the scene was really good. I felt like it was powerful.
Yeah, they did a great job.
They didn't necessarily show the actual battle, like the war battle. I think how they set the stage and their last blaze of glory send off with like the instruments and the dancing and the drums.
Some people getting chopped up.
At the very end, have the Yamato commander guy kind of face off against the Sei Kuda commander guy. And yeah, I don't know, it was cool because basically it's like swords versus bayonets, like arrows versus guns sort of thing. Yeah, I just thought they did a really good job. I think this anime is if you haven't heard of it, I think this is kind of like a hidden gem for this
I agree
season.
I think it's pretty awesome. People on Twitter are talking about how awesome Marriage Toxin is, and I'm just like, I get it, Marriage Toxin is cool, but they're talking about how like awesome Studio Bones is and like how dope Studio Bones' animation is. And like in this episode that we watch of Marriage Toxin after we talk about Wistoria, there's like fucking 3 seconds of animation that's like out of control good. And then the rest of it's like super chill. I'm like, guys, like there's other stuff that's really fucking good. And like Nippon Sangoku is just dope all the time.
I think it's easy to get caught up in animation. You can be like Bones, Madhouse, all of these giant studios where like, yeah, obviously they have really good looking animation. It's very pretty to look at. It's very fluid. But even like Madhouse has released some duds of their own. That's kind of how I tried to look at anime in the past, where I would find a studio and I would be like, okay, that studio's sick. And then I'd look at their portfolio of what they've made and I would choose something from that portfolio, thinking it's going to be just as good as the other thing that I watched from said portfolio. But then I've watched a few and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I guess the animation's good, but like the depth of story, I feel like just isn't there. And I don't think, for me anyway, that really good, super fluid animation can outweigh the lack of story and character development.
I agree.